Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 11 of the Single Momming Awesomely podcast. My name is Cheryll Putt, and I am your host and podcast owner. If this is your first time listening, thank you so very much for giving us an opportunity. I am a single mom success coach, which means that I help single moms become successful in their lives, personally, professionally, and with parenting through the inside out. And I'm also a licensed family therapist. And I'm coming on to you today with the next episode. And I'm doing this one live. Well, not live, actually. I shouldn't say that. I'm doing this one on camera because I want people to be able to get to see my face and get to know me. It makes a big difference how you can see each other. How much of a difference that can make when you can connect in that way. And so that's why I am doing that this time around. And you know what? I'm totally imperfectly perfect or perfectly imperfect. I have COVID-19 hair. I'm looking not my best self, but you know what? Hey, it's all okay. We're all kind of dealing with these things, these restrictions, and they're manifesting in different ways. So it is what it is, and it's not important what I look like as much as it's important that you're able to connect with the message and that whatever I share provides support, guidance, encouragement, motivation. Those are the kinds of things that I'm wanting to do for single moms out there and for all moms out there, but of course more specifically single moms. So let's go ahead and jump in and get started. Welcome to the Single Momming Awesomely podcast, where single moms come to embrace their unique, perfectly imperfect selves while learning success tips for their personal, parenting, and professional lives. So stop holding in that mommy tummy and release that breath and jump in with me, your host, Cheryll Putt. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 11. This episode is all about the idea of happiness and being in charge of your own happiness, choosing your own happiness, those kinds of things. There's a lot of quotes that I just, they strike a nerve. And I'm sure they strike a nerve in a lot of other people too. Things like, you're in charge of your own happiness. You're responsible for your own happiness. Happiness is a choice. And if you are really anybody who's going through a rough time, it's hard to argue that happiness is a choice. You've got all of this bad negativity swirling around you. How is it possible to be happy? How is it possible to create happiness? And when I think about, so what's going on right now, in the world and in our country, we've been, I don't even know how many weeks now dealing with the coronavirus, and although they're starting to open up things like restaurants and things like that, I don't know about you, but I'm still wary about putting myself out there, and what does that mean for any kind of, virus still out there waiting to kind of grow again. And they talk about that second wave. So, it's hard to be thinking about my happiness is my choice when I'm stuck in my house, when I've been stuck in my house for days, months, when my children have been stuck in the house with me for days, months, and the stresses that all of that brings, and you're not able to engage in the typical activities that you might normally use to de-stress, like sitting on the beach, for example, because you're not allowed to sit on the beach right now. So how can I be happy when I can't do the things that make me happy? And then, more recently, and not more recently because it's this is something that's ongoing, but it has these explosions, and this one feels like a bigger one, and I'm not sure if it's because of everything else that's been going on, or if it's because people have finally had enough, or what that all means. But the recent killing of a Minnesota black man and everything that surrounds that, and all of the memories of all the people who were unjustly, not that anyone really deserves to die, but, unjustly killed for no reason, essentially, or for not a legitimate reason, if you will. If you must think that, okay, killing is okay for a legitimate reason, these killings were definitely not, and were by police officers and things like that. And when I think about even that, it's like, how can you be happy when all of this is going on in the world? So many things that are going on in the world, they hurt my heart. They hurt a lot of other people's hearts. There's just so much unrest and sadness and anger and frustration. So when someone comes to say happiness is a choice and you can choose to be happy and you can, create your own happiness, it's like, what are you talking about? No, I can't. And not only that, if you actually start to think, well, maybe I can, you probably might be feeling guilty about that. You probably might be feeling guilty about, how can I be happy when so many people are not? How can I be happy when so many people are hurting? How can I be happy when so many people are barely hanging on? And you feel guilty about being happy. So I wanted to comment sort of, this is not a political podcast at all. And I really try for my own mental health to stay out of political issues. But what I will say is I want to talk about how, even in the face of difficult times, how I kind of came to understand or create my own understanding around what that whole idea of happiness being your responsibility, your choice, what that means. When I think about when I was down in the trenches drowning from depression and anxiety soon after my divorce, and this was one of those times where I would see people posting these uplifting posts, and they would anger me because I wasn't happy and because I wasn't able to find anything to make me happy. And I think I had to hit I had to get to a certain place where I could think about how I am actually making myself worse, how I'm making my feelings decrease even more by continuing to wallow in my thoughts of helplessness and hopelessness. And the thing is that all of that is normal. You're gonna feel those feelings, and there's nothing wrong with feeling those feelings. There's nothing wrong with going through periods where you just feel like you just want everything to stop. There's nothing wrong with those feelings, but as with all feelings, it's what you do with those feelings that count. And so I remember just feeling really vulnerable, feeling like I just wanted all of this negativity to end. I just wanted to finally have something good go right in my life. And I actually ended up calling a suicide hotline, although I wasn't actually suicidal. So it's kind of funny because they sort of were moving from that framework because that's what they're trained to do. But I was feeling trapped is what I was feeling, because I never wanted to have my children, I don't want any children, but my children experience life without their mother. And I didn't want to die, yet I didn't want to be in this space. And I didn't know what to do, and I needed to talk to someone. And it was kind of at that moment that I had an epiphany that I needed to make some changes to move in a different path. And I had a flash of a memory from after college when so I was raped in college, and that will be another story for another time in dealing with trauma. However, I remember that there was a period of time where I was so negative against men. I thought negatively, I spoke negatively. a lot of it was sort of in jest, but as we all know, those jokes, there's a realness behind them or underneath them. And what I noticed is it started really turning me against those males that I actually liked, even my boyfriend at the time. And when I recognized that, I realized, wow, I really got to stop speaking like this. I got to change this. I can't, this is affecting relationships that I actually like. And I'm seeing these people in a horrible light and attributing factors to them that they don't even have. They haven't even done anything. If anything, they've been the opposite. And so when I was in a few years ago after the divorce and in this place of just a dark pit of negativity, I realized I needed to change something. And I wasn't thinking of it in terms of creating my own happiness. But what I did realize is that I needed to change my negative thoughts. I needed to challenge them. I needed to look at them in a different light. Were they valid? Was I just saying them to be saying them, or to complain, just to vent out my emotions, but then never doing anything else about it? And that's pretty much what I discovered, is that when I made the choice to infuse joy into my life, things got better. Now, there were some other pieces along that too, which is what my whole journey of being a single mom success coach is about. But one of the biggest things is infusing joy or finding joy somewhere in your life. Nothing in this life is all negative or all positive. And sometimes it is extremely hard to see the positive in a horrible situation. It's there, and it may not be there, right at that moment. It may come later. But there's nothing is black and white. And so when I started looking for ways to infuse joy, it was hard. I literally had to, spend a day. What is something that makes me feel happy? What is something that makes me smile? What is something that maybe right now in this very moment of my being, heart and soul, it doesn't make me smile, but it made me smile before. Maybe it could help me smile again. And remembering that, let's say it was, a movie or something. And maybe now it doesn't make me laugh anymore. But remembering how it made me laugh and how it made me feel, and reminding me of myself of that and putting myself in that space. And then going back and watching it from that lens, from that shade. Makes a difference. So I think the other piece about that too, though, is that, we rely on other people to show us how to feel, to make us happy. And the reality is people can't be held to that standard. People can't live up to that standard. And that's a lot of power to give someone else, because if you give them the power to be in charge of your happiness, that means they're also in charge of tearing you down. And we need to learn to allow ourselves, create a path for us to make ourselves happy. So ways to do that, like I said, finding joy, looking for things that either have made you feel good, feel positive about yourself or about your environment or the world or whatever it may be, looking for those things, looking for things that still do that for you, and then actively engaging in them, finding a space to do that. Gratitude practice is huge. It's kind of one of those things that everybody talks about, and sometimes I wonder if people get annoyed with it, but that was another piece that helped me get through, because when you are doing something around gratitude on a daily basis, it reminds you that there is something good, that there is something to hold on to. It provides that hope, I can't think of those things. Those round things that if somebody's drowning and you can throw it out and they grab onto it and you pull them in, whatever that is. That gratitude is kind of like that. It's that thing that can be found in the midst of everything else that can pull you through that moment, that day, whatever that looks like. And I don't know how many, I mean, I'm a mom. Oops, sorry. I'm a mom. So obviously I know a lot of kids movies and things like that. But this is where, for example, one of those, Inside Out, the movie Inside Out is so poignant because if you've seen it, Joy, who's one of the characters, and Sadness, they complement each other, but Joy does not like Sadness because Sadness brings Joy down. Sadness makes it hard for Joy to feel joyful. And when she put Sadness in a place where she really couldn't interact, everything started falling apart. You cannot have joy without sadness. You can have sadness without joy, but then everything's going to fall apart. And you can't be successful in life because only sadness brings on that depression, which affects us physically, mentally, and we can implode, for example. So joy is really important. And especially in, times of loss. This is why when people pass away, they might have a ceremony where everybody talks about their positive memories of that person or the things that person did to make them laugh instead of focusing on the loss, because there needs to be a little bit of joy in there. And in creating happiness and finding things to be happy about and finding gratitude, you can move forward and you can continue, and the darkness is not so dark anymore. But the only thing is that no one else can do that for you, because if they point out, well, you have this and you have that and you have this and all these great things going for you, it's going to bounce right off of you, because you're going to have a lot of, well, yeah, but, you have to look for it for yourself. So one phrase that I like to use to kind of get me in that frame of mind too is on the other hand. So if it's a day where everything has been going wrong, and you could do a laundry list of things, you go through them and then you say, on the other hand, and that automatically sets your brain up to find something that is opposite what you were just talking about. So I want you to do this right now. If you are, wherever you are, if you're driving, obviously keep your eyes on the road. But I want you to just think about right now, maybe even looking around yourself, what are 5 different things that you could actually bring about, or that could actually bring about that gratitude for yourself. So, and it's really easy to say the big things, right? But I want you to focus on the little things. So if I'm looking on my desk right now, I can say that I'm grateful for my computer that allows me to look up things, that allows me to have entertainment, that allows me to work. I'm grateful for Starbucks because they make good coffee that I love, that unfortunately does not help me with my waking. But then again, also on my table is my Spark. My Avocare Spark, which I'm so grateful for, because that is the thing that when I drink that, and that's every day, I actually have the energy to do what I need to do, and to focus on the things that I need to focus on. So let's see, that's 3 things. I'm grateful for Kleenex because when you cry, you become a mess, and Kleenex helps you kind of save the day and blow your nose and wipe your tears and all of those things. And I'm grateful for my ring light, because my ring light allows me to look human on the screen, because without it, I look a little, I don't really care what I look like, because I'm sort of in this zone that I'm me, and I like me, and so whatever I look like is okay. But I do want to look human. I don't want to scare you guys. So, those are 5 things that are literally within 1.5 feet of where I am right now. And so I would encourage you to do that right now. Even if you're having the worst hour, day, month, year, whatever it is, I want you to take a moment right now and find 5 things within a 2-foot radius of yourself. And it can include you. But I want you to find 5 different things that you can feel grateful for right now, and just notice how that feels inside when you honor and you recognize the gratitude that you have for those things. That's the way that you can be responsible for your own happiness. That's the way that you can create your own happiness. That even in the worst of times, that you're reaching out and holding on to something, and that something is the joy, that something is the happiness, that something is the positive pieces that are there that might be hiding, but you're holding on to them, because those are going to be the things that are going to move you through and help you survive. Not and get to the point where you're actually thriving. So you won't be drowning, but you'll be surviving and thriving, so that you can move forward. And so that's how I view it. I'm in charge of my happiness. Does that mean that my sadness is not okay? Does that mean that my anger is not okay? Does that mean that I can't feel those feelings, allow those feelings to come up? Does that mean that I can't allow myself to cry, or yell or scream? No. What it means is it allows me to feel all of my feelings, and to, when I'm ready and when I'm able, to do things actively that also bring about joy, so that I can still have a little bit of hope, and that I can hold on through the storm, and come out on the other side, so that I can continue to move forward. Because chances are, especially if you're listening to this podcast, you're a mom. You have people that you need to live forward for. You have people who you need to survive for. And you have people who need to see their mom doing these things, so that they learn themselves, so that later on you don't have to watch them crumble in despair, and not being able to know how to create their own sense of a safety net, their own sense of happiness, in their most difficult situations. So I hope that has been helpful for you guys today. I will come on again next week. I had a little blip with last week, but I will come on again next week. Please leave a review. I would love that. I would love to hear your thoughts on my podcast, either this episode or other episodes. I would love for you to share this episode with anyone that you think could use it, could feel better by it, could learn something from it. And I would love for you to subscribe, so that you know when my next episode comes out. So yes, go ahead, click that subscribe button, share this podcast with anyone, and leave a review. And if there's something that you would like me to address or talk about, or bring a guest on for, let me know that too, because I want this podcast to be for you. My whole goal in being a single mom success coach is helping you be able to move forward, to get out of survival mode and into thriving, for yourself and for your children. Have a great day as much as you can. Find some joy, and I'll be seeing you next time. Bye-bye.